Hello guys, Colin here and welcome back to Will It Shred, the series that's more stop and start than a set of indecisive traffic lights. As you will have noticed since the last episode, I am in a new studio which unfortunately doesn't afford me the same luxury of workshop space as I had previously, so I've had to put the Hurricane on hold once more. However, this did give me plenty of time to look through your comments on the previous episode and decide what kind of finish I'm going to put on this guitar. There are lots of excellent suggestions for colour schemes ranging from black and white to neons and metallics. In the end, there were two options that stood out to me most: Eddie Van Halen or George Lynch. Having already decided that I wanted to keep some of the original pink, I sketched up a couple of different designs to see how they worked. In the end, I felt that the fully striped version was the more striking design, and therefore that's what we're going to try and recreate on the Hurricane. To make sure the body is prepared for accepting fresh paint, I'm giving it one last light sanding, starting with 400 grit and moving up to 600 grit sandpaper. This should be perfectly adequate to even out all the surfaces and make it a consistent matte. Using some painter's masking tape, I start to mask off some of the areas where I want to retain the original pink colour, working from my design. As I haven't made any designs for the rear of the guitar, I'm simply masking where the tape falls and eyeballing it as I go. I'm making sure at this point I don't mask any areas of exposed wood. I want to ensure that the neck heel recess and the monkey grip receive paint. Lastly, I mask off the neck pocket, pickup and control cavities so that no paint can enter these areas. With the guitar suspended, I can begin the first round of spraying. I'm going to hit the whole thing with white primer. Not only will this act as the white layer in the final design, but this will give a blank foundation for the next colour to sit upon. Once I've built up a couple of passes of the white and I'm happy with the coverage, I'm going to leave this to set up overnight. After 24 hours, this primer coat should be safe to handle so long as I'm delicate. There are a few areas where dust and other small floating debris have set themselves into the paint. Using some 800 grit sandpaper, I can carefully sand those flat. So long as I don't apply too much pressure, I won't sand through the newly applied white. More tape then. This time I'm protecting all the areas that are to remain white according to my design. Again, I'm starting with the front and freestyling the back into something I think will look appropriate. I will also mask off the edges of the previous tape so that we can have some white striping surrounding the original pink. Once I'm happy with this tape layer, the Hurricane can be suspended again and we can begin apply the new colour, neon orange. I'm using standard all-purpose aerosol spray cans for this, so nothing fancy. When spraying from cans in this fashion, it's important to ensure that you go in light passes, never spray too heavily in one area or get too close to the guitar. Runs are very common if you spray too heavy or too close. Little runs can be sanded out at the end of the day, but it's better to try and avoid them entirely. With the neon orange complete, we can leave the Hurricane sitting for several hours until the paint is touch dry. I want to be able to take off the tape before the paint is completely cured. The greatest difficulties with so much tape is firstly finding where to start peeling from, and secondly working out which layers are on top of the others. With all the paint all over everything, it gets quite tricky to tell. It's important to take this slowly and carefully in case the tape starts to lift paint off the body. Slowly we begin to reveal the white under the orange. The contrast is already quite striking. Now I was quite apprehensive when starting to peel back the last layers of tape. At this stage, I'd almost forgotten what the original pink looked like. As the darker salmon colour began to show itself, however, I felt a wave of relief. The more tape I removed, the better the guitar started to look. The contrast in colours was very striking indeed, proclaiming a bold statement upon the eyes. I'm especially happy with the white pinstriping lining the pink. I think that gives the piece a real standout effect. The back turned out remarkably well for an off-the-cuff design effort, and I'm glad that it has enough of its own unique vibe that it doesn't merely look like an EVH clone. There's certainly no way you'd miss this one on a dark stage. I've left the Hurricane now to set up before I can go into the clear coating and eventually putting the whole thing back together. So as I leave you with a few more beauty shots, don't forget to subscribe, support me on Patreon, and leave me a comment letting me know how you think this one turned out. Anyway, keep it loud, and I'll see you later.